The sweet girl with a secret recipe, Lena, was not a soldier, not a leader, not a hero. She was just a quiet girl who loved to bake. While other students at New Geneva Interstellar Academy trained in science and space combat, Lena spent her free time in the small school kitchen, mixing sugar and butter. She smiled when the oven warmed her face. She believed sweet things could fix even the hardest problems. She never imagined that one day her cupcakes would almost start a war. Her crush, Threx, was tall and quiet, with deep silver eyes and blue skin that sparkled under sunlight. He was a Crovar warrior student, known for his strength, his speed, and his silence. He never talked much, but Lena liked him anyway. He had once helped her pick up a bag of flour when she dropped it. Since that day, her heart raced every time she saw him. Lena wanted to do something special for him. The school's friendship festival was coming up, where students gave gifts to someone they admired. Most gave art, flowers, or songs, but Lena had a better idea. She would bake him something sweet, something full of feeling. She chose her best recipe, Starshine. Cupcakes made with cream, vanilla dust, and a secret flour extract called Stir. It was rare, glowing slightly in the dark, but gave her cupcakes a taste like nothing else. Her grandmother had given her the recipe, saying it brought people together. Lena spent all night baking, making each one perfect. She packed them in a small white box, tied with a silver ribbon, and walked to school the next morning with a fast-beating heart. In the lunch hall, students from 10 different species laughed, shouted, and ate together. Lena spotted Threx sitting alone, reading something on his holopad. She took a deep breath and walked over. "Hi, Threx," she said, holding the box. He looked up, surprised. "I made these for you," she said. Just because." He took the box silently, opened it, and looked at the bright blue cupcakes. His nostrils flared as he smelled them. He picked one up, took a bite, and everything went wrong. Threx's body froze, his eyes widened, and his skin began to glow with a deep red pulse. He dropped the cupcake and fell to the ground, shaking. Students screamed, and someone hit the emergency button. Security drones flew in. Scanning the scene, they scanned the cupcake and immediately locked onto Lena. "Unknown compound detected," the drone said. "Potential biological threat." No, it's just sugar," Lena said, panicking. "It's a flower. It's just a flower." But no one listened. She was grabbed and taken to the principal's office, where men in black uniforms were already waiting. Galactic peace officers. "You are being taken in for questioning regarding a Class B chemical incident involving an alien citizen," the officer said. "Your cooperation is expected." Lena was too shocked to speak. She watched as Threx was carried away on a stretcher, still glowing, his eyes closed, in the interrogation room. Lena tried to explain everything. "It was just a cupcake," she said again and again. "I only wanted to be kind." But the officers showed her a file. The flour she used store was legal on Earth, but on the Crovar homeworld, it was a forbidden stimulant, banned for over 100 years. It increased strength, speed, and even memory too. Powerful. Too dangerous, and now, they believed, she had used it on purpose to harm or manipulate a Crovar warrior. She may be part of a new kind of weapon program. One officer said to another. "No." Lena shouted, "That's not true. I just wanted to impress him." But the more she spoke, the worse it sounded outside. The story had already hit the galactic news. "Human girl poisons Crovar warrior." One headline said, "Cupcake attack." "Sparks alien rage," said another, across space. Crovar leaders were furious, demanding justice. Calling it an act of war, the Earth's government was silent for now. But their warships were already moving closer to Crovar space. Both sides were preparing for the worst, and Lena. She sat alone in a cold cell, her heart broken, her hands shaking. She had only wanted one thing to make Threx smile now. She might have started a galaxy-wide war. Cupcakes and criminal charges. Lena sat in a chair made of cold steel, staring. At her own hands, the lights in the galactic peace station buzzed overhead. Cold and uncaring, two alien officers stood behind a glowing panel, whispering in a language she couldn't understand. She felt like a criminal, but in her heart, she still couldn't believe what had happened. One cupcake, one moment, and everything in her life had shattered like sugar glass. A tall human man in a dark uniform finally walked in. He had sharp eyes and a silver badge on his chest. Corin, Earth Intelligence Division. He placed a thick digital file on the table and looked at Lena. "You may not understand the trouble you're in," he said coldly, "but right now, Earth is one mistake away from war." Lena's voice trembled. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I didn't even know the flower was dangerous." Corin didn't blink. "Intentions don't matter. Not in politics." He replied, "You gave a member of a warrior bloodline a banned substance, one that boosted his energy and nearly caused a chemical imbalance in his brain." "But it was in my grandmother's recipe," Lena whispered. "She used it all the time." "Your grandmother wasn't part of a treaty alliance," he snapped. "You are." Meanwhile, on the Crovar homeworld, something darker was unfolding. Threx lay inside a healing chamber, surrounded by his family military nobles with golden crests on their armor. They didn't see a boy who ate a sweet gift. They saw an attack on their bloodline, a test of human intentions. Rumors were already flying. The humans are using food as a weapon. Some said, this is just the beginning. Others warned, and behind closed doors, alien generals began preparing plans. Back on the station, Lena was taken into another room. But this one was different. It had no walls, only glass, showing stars on every side, and in the center sat an old Crovar ambassador named Vera, her eyes glowing with wisdom and quiet pain. "You are either very foolish," Vera said softly, "or very dangerous." "I just liked him," Lena said, wiping her eyes. "I just wanted him to like me back." Vera leaned forward. "You gave him a substance more powerful than any weapon," she said, "not just in science, but in symbolism, on my planet. That flower is part of the rage ritual used by warriors before blood battles to give that as a gift. Is like declaring war." Lena's lips parted. Shocked. "I didn't know," she whispered. Vera nodded. "That may be true, but the galaxy will not care." Suddenly, a warning alarm rang through the station. A fleet of Crovar warships had entered neutral space just outside Earth's protective zone. Tensions rose instantly. Galactic news screens exploded with updates. "Crovar fleet moves closer. War inevitable." And in every broadcast, they showed Lena's face. The human girl who baked a cupcake that could end peace, back in her cell. Lena watched it all on the tiny screen. She wanted to scream, to cry, to disappear. But then she saw something. Threx, awake, speaking to reporters from his recovery pod. "She didn't mean harm," he said slowly, his voice still weak. "She's just kind." That moment changed something. It gave Lena a thread of hope. If Threx believed her, maybe others would too. The Earth president, now under massive pressure, made a surprising decision. He would not hide Lena. He would send her to the Crovar homeworld as a peace witness, her job. To explain her story before the galactic court, and to bake the same cupcake Lavender observation. If the cupcake didn't cause harm again, maybe war could be avoided. If it did, Earth would pay the price. Lena's hands shook as the news was delivered to her. "You want me to go there?" she asked, terrified. Agent Corin nodded. "It's either that, or watch your planet burn." She was given a translator chip, a clean uniform, and one tiny bag of ingredients. No weapons, no protection, only her truth and her recipe. As she stepped onto the shuttle, Lena took one last look at the stars. She thought of her grandmother, of the warm oven, of Threx's smile. She had just wanted someone to notice her. Now, the whole galaxy was watching. The courtroom was not made of stone or wood. It was built of living crystal, floating inside a space station that orbited the twin suns of the Crovar system. Lena stepped out of the Earth shuttle into a silent hall of alien judges, soldiers, and citizens. Thousands of eyes from dozens of species turned toward her. Most stared with suspicion, others with quiet anger. She felt small, like a tiny grain of flour on a giant metal tray. She wasn't wearing armor or even proper shoes. It's just her Earth uniform and a small silver apron folded in her bag. And inside that apron was the same cupcake recipe, unchanged, unbroken, full of meaning and now full of danger. A voice echoed across the chamber. Lena of Earth, accused of culinary aggression and treaty breach. Step forward. Her feet moved, but her heart didn't follow. She stood before the three judges, one human, one Crovar, and one insectoid diplomat from the neutral world of Crintal. They looked down at her like she was already guilty. "We will test your truth," said Judge Theron, the Crovar elder, with a black stripe on his face. "If your cupcake is safe, peace will stand. If it is not, Earth will face justice." Lena nodded slowly. "I understand." Her voice cracked. But she stayed standing. Then they gave her a challenge: bake the cupcake again. Live in front of the court, using exact ingredients and the same method. It was not a request. It was a trial by oven. She entered the glass kitchen chamber, followed by cameras and guards. The ingredients were placed carefully in front of her: flour, eggs, sugar, milk, vanilla, and the final piece: starroot extract, glowing softly, tempting, mysterious. She hesitated for just a second, but then reached out and took it. She had to prove it was never the plant, it was the love behind the baking. She mixed the batter by hand, slowly, carefully, just like her grandmother taught her. No machines, no shortcuts. Her fingers shook as she poured the batter into crystal molds. The oven heated, and the sweet smell began to spread across the courtroom. One Crovar warrior inhaled the scent and growled softly. "It smells like battle," another whispered. "It smells like home." Lena watched through the glass as her cupcakes rose with golden tops and blue sparkle dust melting into swirls. They were beautiful, and they looked just like the first ones before everything fell apart. When they were done, she stepped out and handed one to each judge. They all stared at the cupcake like it was a live bomb. The first to take a bite was the insectoid judge. He clicked softly, chewing slow, then nodded. "Flavor. Pure," he said. "Effect. None." Then came the human judge, who tasted it with scientific care. "No chemicals beyond known Earth values," he reported. Emotionally uplifting, but harmless. All eyes turned to Judge Theron, the Crovar elder. He stared at Lena with a deep silence before finally picking up the last cupcake. He bit into it, slowly, then closed his eyes for one long moment. Everyone held their breath. Then he opened his eyes and fell to one knee. Glowing red gasps echoed through the chamber. Guards raised their weapons. Lena backed away, horrified. "No. No, it can't be," she whispered. "I did everything right." The courtroom descended into chaos. The Crovar judge shouted in fury. The flour was pure, but this was tainted. He held up the cupcake, and to everyone's shock, it pulsed. With red light, someone had tampered with it, but it wasn't Lena. Security bots locked down the room, and the judges ordered an emergency investigation. A scan revealed what Lena feared most: someone had slipped a microdose of blood fury compound into the batter. It was hidden inside the storage vial, replaced just before the trial. Someone wanted this to fail. Someone wanted war, and now the truth was buried under suspicion. Again, Lena stood in the center of the room, helpless, while the galactic media screamed the headlines. Earthgirl fails trial. Alien judge poisoned in peace court. Who wants this war? The court was postponed, and Lena was escorted out under heavy guard. But one person followed her, Threx, his body still healing, but his spirit sharper than ever. "I believe you," he said quietly, "and I think I know who did this." He handed her a small recording chip smuggled from the security room inside. A shadowy figure switching her ingredients moments before the trial. Proof of sabotage, but they didn't know who the figure was yet. Lena gripped the chip tightly. She was no longer just a baker. She was now part of something far bigger, and, if she didn't stop it soon, this wouldn't just be a failed trial, it would be the start of a galactic war. Secrets in the Delina stared at the chip in her hand. It was small, smaller than a sugar cube, but it carried the weight of entire worlds. Inside it was the truth, or at least a piece of it. And right now, truth was more valuable than any weapon in the galaxy. Threx sat beside her in the hidden quarters of the Crovar station. He wore a dark cloak, covering the glowing lines on his arms. He was still healing, but his focus was clear. "I don't know who the figure is yet," he said, "but they knew the court's system, the kitchen schedule, and your baking routine." Lena nodded slowly. Then they had access. From the inside, they inserted the chip into a portable viewer, and the footage played in silence. The shadowed figure moved quickly, switching Lena's vial of star root with a tainted one just minutes before the trial began. They wore gloves, a breathing mask, and a lab coat, with no badge, no face, no voice, just a silent hand of chaos. But then, just for a second, a glimmer, a reflection on the oven door, a pin shaped like a golden spoon. Lena froze. "I've seen that before," she whispered. She searched her memory. The day before the trial, a Crovar woman in the waiting hall had passed her by, smiling, holding a clipboard, and wearing that same golden spoon pin. Lena didn't know her name, but she remembered her scent. Sharp, sweet. "Artificial cinnamon. We need to find her," Lena said. "She's the key." "But if she's part of something bigger," Threx warned, "she won't be alone." They couldn't go to the judges. Not yet. The court was still under lockdown, and the media was tearing Lena apart. So they turned to someone unexpected, a food bot named Mixie. It was old, rusty, and half forgotten in the storage rooms below the station. But Mixie had worked in galactic kitchens for 90 years and had seen every ingredient, every chemical, every scent, and more importantly, remembered everything. "Query accepted," Mixie said in a cheerful, broken tone, searching for compound match. "Artificial cinnamon scent." Its eyes blinked, and a small hologram appeared. Name, Chef Belaya. Assistant to Judge Rin of the Crovar Council. Specialty, galactic spice chemistry and court-approved flavor testing. Judge Rin. Lena whispered. He was silent during my trial. Threx nodded slowly. He's one of the most powerful food policy voices in the entire Galactic Alliance. If anyone could profit from war over ingredients, it's him. The plan was risky. They needed to break into Rin's private lab, collect samples, and prove the tampering came from his team. If they failed, they'd be arrested or worse, accused of espionage. But if they succeeded, they could stop the war before it truly began that night under the cover of darkness. Lena and Threx moved through the maintenance corridors of the station. The walls hummed with power, and drones buzzed by like flies. Mixie rolled beside them, using an old cleaner bot disguise to stay hidden. Entrance to Judge Rin's lab ahead. Mixie said, blinking twice, "Biometric lock, stand by." Threx used a security override chip stolen from his brother's military locker. The door hissed open, and they entered quietly. The lab was full of strange devices, spice analyzers, molecular slicers, glowing shelves of rare herbs, and on the center table, a second Starrett vial, glowing red, exactly like the one that poisoned Judge Theron. Lena moved quickly, pulling out her scanner. Match confirmed. The device blinked. Tampered extract same batch used in courtroom incident. Then, they heard a noise footsteps. Threx grabbed Lena and pulled her behind a supply crate just as the door opened. Chef Belaya entered. Humming softly and typing into a datapad, she walked over to the vial and replaced it with another. More vials. More targets. More lies. This wasn't about Lena anymore. This was part of a larger plan to start conflict, to turn food into fear, and to destroy the balance between Earth and the Crovers. They waited until Belaya left, then Mixie scanned the datapad remotely and copied the contents. Inside were messages between her and Judge Rin. Operation Flavorstorm is nearly complete. One message read, Earth's fall will trigger full spice control authority. No more treaties. Profit from every side. Lena felt her blood run cold. This wasn't just political sabotage. This was a spice war hidden behind a smile, and started by a cupcake, as they escaped back to their quarters. Mixie played one last message. Backup plan is ready. Belias. Voice echoed, if the girl gets close to the truth, remove her. Lena looked at Threx. Her voice low but steady. They won't silence me, she said. Not now. They had the proof. They had the names. But now, they needed the galaxy to listen, and for that, they'd have to go live. Cupcake Rebellion, the stars outside the station were quiet, but inside, tension was rising fast. The galactic court was sealed, the media was divided, and the warships of Earth and Crovar hovered just one command away from battle, and in the shadows of the floating city station, Lena had become a fugitive, not because she hurt someone, but because she had baked the wrong cupcake for the wrong person at the worst time. Now, she had the truth in her hands, stolen messages, proof of sabotage, and a second tainted Starroot vial. But no one in power would listen. The judges were under threat, the peace talks were frozen, and Belaya, the spice chemist who poisoned the evidence, had vanished from public view. The galaxy needed to hear Lena's voice, but all official channels were blocked. That's when Threx took her to a forgotten part of the station, the Down Bay. A hollow metal maze filled with rejected bots, pirate tech, and those who lived off the grid. There, in the neon glow of stolen energy, lived a group called the Open Signal. They were rebels, not warriors, but truth spreaders, hackers, journalists, and misfits from 100 worlds. People who believed in one thing. If the truth is buried, dig it up and scream it loud. You want to speak to the whole galaxy? Said a tall insectoid named Hax, one of the rebel techs. Then you need to hijack the core signal tower? Is that even possible? Lena asked, her voice shaking. Hax grinned. Not easy, not safe. But yes, if your words are worth dying. 4. Lena looked down at the recipe sheet in her hands. Not my words, she said, but my truth. The plan was dangerous break into the core tower at the center of the station. Plug in Mixie, the food bot with the stolen footage, and bake one final cupcake live across the galaxy. Everyone would see the truth with their own eyes. But it had to be done fast. Judge Rin had already activated his private guard, and war would begin in less than 24 hours. That night, wearing a hood and carrying only her mixing tools, Lena moved through the station with Threx, Hax, and Mixie. The halls above were locked down. But the rebels knew every vent, wire, and blind corner. They reached the broadcast room just as the main guard patrol moved past. Mixie plugged into the signal cables and began the upload. Broadcast time. 3 minutes, Mixie beeped. Start oven. Lena set up the small heat plate, poured the batter, and whispered a silent prayer. This was no longer about Threx or school or even love. It was about saving peace through something as simple as food. Then the lights above changed red alert. Belaya had found them. She stormed in with 3 armored guards, shouting, "Step away from the console." Shut it down. Lena stood firm, her eyes locked on Belaya. You poisoned justice, she said calmly. And I'm here to clean it. Belaya raised a weapon, but before she could fire, Threx blocked her path. You won't hurt her, he said, his voice full of calm fire. Not today. The rebels launched a smoke charge, and chaos broke out. Hacks finished the final connection, signal live, in 10 seconds. Lena placed the finished cupcake on the platform, and the camera lens blinked green. Galactic broadcast in line. Billions of people, on Earth and across the stars, saw her face. She spoke clearly. Even as alarms blared behind her, my name is Lena. She said, I'm not a soldier. I'm not a spy. I'm just a girl who baked something sweet for someone I cared about. And for that, I was blamed for starting a war. She held up the clean storeroot vial, then the poisoned one. This is what they use to twist the truth, she continued. Someone inside your court wants conflict, not peace. She then played the footage Belaya, switching the vial. The secret messages, Judge Rin's plan to profit from spice control. And finally she took a bite of the cupcake. Nothing happened. No glow, no collapse, no poison, just a smile and a tear down her cheek. Sometimes peace is simple. She said, if we stop looking for war in everything and start seeing kindness instead. The feed was cut suddenly. Belaya had destroyed the control panel. But it was too late. The signal had gone out, and it had already reached every council, every ship, every screen. Lena turned to Thrax, her breath shaky. Do you think they'll believe me? He nodded. They already do, but outside the station. Warships were already moving. Would truth travel faster than lasers? Or was the Cupcake Rebellion too late? The final bake the signal had spread across Earth, the Krovar Empire, and every system in between. Lena's voice echoed through satellites, markets, homes, and even military command rooms. She had spoken with trembling hands, but unshakable truth. And for a moment, the galaxy paused. But peace is fragile, and lies don't die quietly. In the orbit above the Krovar system, Earth's defense fleet had already locked on targets. Krovar. Warships had their plasma turrets ready. One command, one misunderstanding, and millions would vanish in a flash of fire. And no one could stop it, except the girl who started it all. Inside the ruined control room, Lena stood beside Threx and Mixie. Surrounded by flickering lights and the scent of cinnamon smoke, the cupcake was eaten, the truth exposed. But something still felt incomplete. Belaya had escaped in the chaos, and Judge Rin was silent, hidden behind his authority. And then Mixie beeped with a broken voice. Emergency broadcast. Failed to reach, ... Main Peace Summit Council. Signal jammed. Lena's heart sank. The most important people, the peace decision-makers, never got the message. We have to go there, she said. We have to show them in person. Thrax blinked. That summit is protected by 6 defense rings and a no-fly barrier. Then we'll walk if we have to, she said firmly. We're not finished yet. They snuck aboard a cargo freighter bound for the summit station. Hidden under crates of alien spice bags, Mixie powered down to avoid scans. Lena clutched her baking kit close, her last clean vial of starut, the exact ingredients, and a tiny solar-heated cupcake oven built from scavenged parts. The final bake would be done by hand. No labs, no machines, no tricks, just truth. The summit hall was a floating ring above the station, filled with the most powerful beings in the known universe: presidents, generals, council elders, royal traders, and more. No one noticed a girl in a dusty apron stepping onto the platform till she began mixing batter on their sacred discussion floor. Security moved in instantly, shouting, "Unauthorized citizen, step back." But Lena didn't flinch. She shouted louder, "You won't hear my words. Then taste them." The room froze. Lena lit the small oven, steam rising as her hands moved with focus. "I came to this galaxy with a gift," she said. "A simple cupcake made to show care, not power, but your systems twisted it, poisoned it, then blamed me." One alien elder stood, frowning. "This is not a kitchen, child. This is a court of peace." Lena looked up, flower on her cheek, then, "Let peace taste like something real," she said. The room watched silently as the final cupcake rose in the oven. Golden and glowing, Mixie, now repaired, projected the proof against Malaya's sabotage. Judge Rin's spice war plans and the stolen court recordings. But Lena didn't stop at words this time. She placed one fresh cupcake on each of the judges' tables, including the Krovar Emperor's own plate. "Eat it," she said. "Not because I ask you to, but because truth should be tasted, not feared." Slowly, one by one, they did. And nothing happened. No glow, no poison, no madness, just silence. And the taste of something soft, sweet, and honest. Judge Rin rose from his seat at last, red-faced and sweating. "This is a show, nothing more," he shouted, but Mixie played the final clip. Rin sang, in his own voice, "Flavor storm will end peace." And that is profit. Guards moved instantly, surrounding him. And the room filled not with fear but with applause. The Krovar Emperor stood and nodded at Lena. "You baked more than food, Earth Girl," he said. "You baked back trust." A message was sent to all ships: stand down. The fleets retreated, weapons deactivated. The war was canceled by a cupcake. Lena looked at Threx, her eyes full of tears. "It's over," she whispered. He smiled and reached for her hand. "No," he said, "it's just beginning." From Crush to Galactic Hero, the war that never happened became one of the most studied events in galactic history. And at the center of it stood Lena. Not a captain, not a diplomat, not even a soldier. Just a girl who once baked cupcakes to impress a boy. Now they called her the Peacemaker in an apron. The Galactic Court issued a full pardon. The sabotage was exposed. Judge Rin was arrested, and his spice empire collapsed overnight. Balaya, the chemist, fled the system, but her face was on every bounty board across the stars. New laws were written within weeks, ones that protected culture, kindness, and yes, even cupcakes. Lena stood in a massive garden hall of the Peace Academy on Krovar Prime. Students from dozens of worlds were baking together, mixing flour and stories. Her face was now on statues, coins, and school books, but she still liked wearing her apron and keeping her sleeves rolled up. Because fame hadn't changed her, and she didn't want it to. Threx approached her quietly. Holding something behind his back, she smiled as he walked closer. "I never got to say thank you," he said, "for believing in something as small as kindness." "You're welcome," she said with a soft laugh. "I just didn't expect it to start a war." He handed her a small box. Inside were 6 cupcakes baked by him. The frosting was uneven, the shape imperfect, but they smelled warm and real. "I'm learning," he said, looking embarrassed. "They're perfect," she whispered, and took a bite, sweet just like peace. Then the headmistress of the academy entered the garden with a holopad in hand. "Lena," she said, "you've received an invitation." "From who?" Lena asked. The woman smiled. "From the Galactic Culinary Union. They want you to open the first interstellar kitchen of understanding. A place where enemies share food, not fire." Lena blinked. Surprised, "I was just trying to tell I." "Boy, I liked him," she said, "and you ended up telling the galaxy how to love." The headmistress replied. Later that night, Lena stood on a balcony overlooking the stars. Threx stood beside her, silent and calm as always. "Do you think it'll last?" she asked. "The peace?" "I don't know," he replied honestly. "But I know this: if it ever breaks again, it won't be a gun that fixes it. It'll be someone like you." She reached into her pocket and pulled out her grandmother's recipe card, worn. Soft, stained with sugar and tears, she folded it, placed it in a time capsule box, and sealed it with her name for the future. She wrote, "May you solve your battles with sweetness, not sorrow." The stars above sparkled like frosting. On velvet, and somewhere, far away, a child read about her for the first time. The girl who stopped a war with a cupcake and smiled.